All right, well, it's 5 minutes after 12, so I will go ahead and call the Warren County Commissioners meeting to order of December 27th, 2023, the final Commissioners meeting for the current Board of Commissioners. I would invite you to please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And a moment of silence immediately proceed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. This meeting is being recorded, and anything said in this public meeting is going to be part of public record. Since the last time the Board of Commissioners met, we have not had an executive session. We had one on the 18th scheduled, but ended up canceling it. In terms of correspondence, we did receive one encouraging letter today, which was the final closeout on the strategic management planning. There was a letter, I believe, from the DCED saying that the program was finally closed out. So thank you very much to everyone who was involved in that. That was a big deal, I think, to Warren County to get all of that money. And out of it, we got the comp plan done, new software for fiscal, and a bunch of other little projects. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the service of Dan Glotz as an appointed official. He has been with the county since I was maybe not in diapers, but close to it. And although he's transitioning to become an elected official here in a week, we wanted to take a moment to thank him for his many years of service in the planning and zoning departments. Dan, would you please come up? I'd like to present this to you. For 33 years of dedicated service so far to Warren County. Congratulations. Yeah. I'm doing this now because you're not going to be able to give yourself a trophy in a few years. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to serve. And next. Next, we would like to have Kathleen Jones come up. Kathleen has been with the county for almost 38 years. And I think it would be safe to say she's also the most pleasant, beaming personality that works for the county government. Thank you so much for your dedicated service and your kindness.
Thank you.
Good, Pam?
Yep.
We'll get one here too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right, thanks. Good.
At this time, I would ask if there's any public comment, whether generally or on any of the agenda items before us. Hearing none, we'll move on. Feast your eyes upon the agenda. Is there anything that looks out of place or anything missing? Hearing none, have you had a chance to review the minutes of November 22nd? Oh, actually, that should have been December, right?
December 13th.
Yeah, December 13th, the public meeting and the public hearing. Hearing none,
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
we should probably let Lisa give a finance report, right?
Okay.
Go for it.
Right, as of today, we have $3,100,000 in all our bank, in our general fund savings account. We have $1,034,000 in the general fund. I did a budget analysis, and we're running about $400,000 below budget to actuals, and we're going to present the 2024 budget today.
Very good. Any questions? Other comments? I think this would be a good place to note that we don't yet have our 2022 audit, but we're very close, right?
Yes.
Very good. Anything else fiscal? None. We have one proclamation on the agenda today, and that's for National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day coming up on the 9th. So Commissioner Eggleston, would you please present it?
I'll just read the proclamation first. National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, whereas across the country on January 9th, citizens take the lead to demonstrate support on National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Law enforcement officers of every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their life on the line every day for their communities. They've answered a call to public service that is demanding and often unappreciated. On National Law Enforcement Day, we have an opportunity to thank them for their service and offer a token of respect. National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was founded in 2015 to thank officers nationwide for all the daily sacrifices they make for their communities. Concerns of police survivors, the FBI National Academy Associates of Fraternal Order of Police, the International Association of Chief of Police, the Officer Down Memorial Page, Law Enforcement United, the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, only to name a few of the long list of organizations supporting the inaugural day of National Law Enforcement Officers Appreciation Day. Since then, nationwide, many more organizations have joined forces to support National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day to spread encouragement and respect to these dedicated men and women. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Warren, Pennsylvania declares January 9th as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Warren County. And I know for myself, one of the benefits of working as a commissioner in the county is that I get to see and witness a lot of the work done by law enforcement in the county, and whether it's the sheriff's department or the municipal police departments or everybody involved, and they do a spectacular job, and there have been multiple situations where people would have died if they hadn't intervened. And so I know for myself it's certainly increased my level of gratitude for their work and my appreciation for them.
At this time, there's a bunch of you with badges here. Would you mind coming up and getting a picture with us? Yeah, that includes all of you, even if you're playing close. Come on, baby.
Unless you're a
Yeah.
which I don't.
Juvenile probation want to come up?
Come on up.
Thank you. All right, there's no unfinished business on the agenda, so we'll move on to new business. The first thing that's on the agenda is the ratification of an SEIU union contract. Unfortunately, we don't have that back. It was something that we very much wanted to wrap up by the end of our term. I think it was a misunderstanding, at least on my part, about a year ago. I think we accepted the arbitrator's decision, but... Oh, did we? I'm sorry.
No, we did not.
So I will again make my motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Commissioner Durbin, do you second?
I do second, thank you.
Very good. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, moving on to the SEIU contract. We're going to need to postpone again to the next board. You'll have to officially approve it. Again, it was something we'd hoped to get done before the end of our term, but, you know, lawyers.
On this one, sorry.
So, I motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table the SEIU union contract.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Durbin seconds. Sorry. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, very standard electronic service agreement for the 911 center. This is for the annual maintenance agreement for the Verint system, which is just going to be a 6-month this year because we're moving to a new system. We're planning to in about 6 months. So I'll go ahead and move that agreement.
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. Next is an agreement with Tyler Technologies for the records management system. This is shared by the sheriff's office amongst, wait, it is just sheriff's records? I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, I believe the 911 center as well.
Yeah, I believe it's 911 as well. Anyway, it's through the Northern Tier Consortium. I believe in the past this has been handled directly by Elk County, correct, as our fiduciary agent. However, for various reasons, Tyler's wanting to contract directly with the counties, so this isn't a change. It's not really any different except that we have the agreement directly rather than through a third party. So I'll go ahead and move the Tyler Tech Records Management Agreement.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we have an agreement with Knox Law, and this would be for representation related to tax appeals. I believe this is an additional one in conjunction with the other municipalities, correct? The other taxing bodies?
These properties relate to the strip malls near Walmart. So where, for example, K Jewelers is, and then also along the back.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Knox Law appeal agreement.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 The ayes have it. Next is Resolution 3,260. This is for the tax anticipation note for next year. It's a $4 million tax-free tax anticipation note. Pretty standard. We've been doing tax anticipation notes for as long as I remember. And $4 million is a pretty normal number for us. Of course, the interest rate, if you tracked any of our discussions in the work sessions, is a little higher than it has been, but that's just because of the nature of interest rates right now. So I'll go ahead and move the resolution 3,260.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Here.
All right, all those in favor, please state aye.
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 Have fun with that closing. There's like 30 documents you gotta sign.
Piece of cake, don't worry.
Let's do wrist exercises beforehand.
All right, and finally, on the agenda, we have the adoption of the 2024 budget. We released the budget narrative about a month ago, and has been noted there was a 2 mil tax increase that was built into it. The only thing that I'd like to highlight about it beyond that is that I ran back the numbers to the late 90s in terms of taxes and interest rate, and compared them, and found that on the whole, even bringing it up this 2 mil is still less than the interest rate nationwide. So while we have increasing costs and such, we have an obligation to continue to provide the same services. And so I think we're about as efficient at that as can be, and so it seems to fit that we would need to increase property taxes along the same lines as inflation. As a kind of policy note to the future Board of Commissioners, I do think it makes sense to do incremental increases that coincide with interest rates. So that would be, if I had something I would change about what we've done the last few years, I would recommend that going forward. But again, as it is, really the reason to do that is simply to keep people from having dramatic increases all at once. But on the whole, I think it's a pretty reasonable budget. And I'd like to thank Lisa Hagbert for her significant amount of time and hours that went into this budget. It was a much harder one than the last few, just because we were trying to look at every different way we could to avoid increasing the taxes $1 more than necessary. There was a lot of cleanup that went along with it. So Lisa, thank you very much for your dedication and hard work on the budget. With that, I'll move the adoption of the 2024 budget.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm here.
All right, and all those in favor, please state aye.
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 The ayes have it. Commissioner Durbin, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I don't. I'm very satisfied with the adoption of the 2024 budget. Looking forward to the new year. I will definitely say that I will miss both you, Commissioner Kathleen, and you, Commissioner Eggleston, as partners and commissioners. I wish you all the best in your future. And I'm sure we'll see each other on the road somewhere.
I'm sure. Commissioner Allison, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, but yeah, I guess I'll just briefly, it's been a real honor to work as a commissioner for the county. If I've had any success, it's been because I've had the opportunity to work with some of the best people in government, in my opinion. It's a real common thing, I think, these days for people to trash or talk negatively about government workers, whether it's, you know, people trashing law enforcement or giving them grief, or people who are complaining about the assessment department, or people who hate elections or think that the elections are fixed, and there's this negativity around the government that's pretty pervasive, and that really affects probably more than anybody the people that work in the system. And my experience as a commissioner has been that the County of Warren certainly has some of the best workers that I've ever worked with in any job, whether that's in the Sheriff's Department, whether it's in assessment, planning and zoning, the Elections Department, the Finance Department. Everybody works much harder than what they're paid for in this county. And they move mountains to try to help people. I've gotten to see sheriff's deputies who have prevented people from getting killed in difficult situations. I've gotten to see probation officers guide people to a life that doesn't involve drugs and alcohol and death eventually. I've gotten to see children and youth workers prevent kids from living their life in torment under difficult situations. And all I can say is that I'm very grateful that you allowed me to share that with you and to get to see it, because it's really invigorated my belief in people and their ability to do good work, and certainly the government's ability to do good work and prevent people from hurting themselves when they don't realize what they're really capable of. And so thank you for your work over the past 8 years. I've learned so much from you, and I think that if there's anything that I'll miss, the top of that list is going to be the people who work in the county, because you're just, with very few exceptions, some of the best people I've ever known in my life, and I would nominate many of you for sainthood for the work that you do, so thank you.
For myself, I do have a few comments of personal privilege. Won't be as dramatic and philosophical as perhaps I want to be to save you all, but I was reflecting on George Washington's farewell address, and I kind of wanted to say something akin to what he did when he left office. First of all, I recall us meeting with the previous Board of Commissioners a little over 8 years ago, and them saying that, first of all, the county government is like a train on the tracks and you can't do too much to screw it up. I'm not sure that was the case. At minimum, the rail line was very windy at times. They also said that it was a well-oiled machine, and it may be well-oiled, but that doesn't mean there aren't broken parts, so you've still got a lot to do. In the past 8 years, we have done a lot of good. I think we have dealt with a lot of systematic things that have been kicked down the road, but I have to be honest that there's other things that we're still kicking to you guys, so be ready. I mean, when I think back, I think some of the best accomplishments would be the closure of the landfill, the implementation of the new 911 completely interoperable system, radio system. We did extensive work on this building and other buildings, caught up on capital improvement needs, working on HVAC, maintenance of the jail locks, the elevators, the roofs, etc. The COVID grants and such was that was a hard lift, and but something that was very rewarding. Of course, we've kicked off the reassessment. We went through the comprehensive planning process. We went through the strategic management process and implemented a bunch of those recommendations, including the software upgrades that I mentioned earlier. At the same time, we've still got to deal with the either renovation or relocation of the 911 center. There's also the radio towers, coverage gaps in the county. There's the paging system, and then of course the ongoing need to support and lead the EMS crisis to some sort of resolution. There's ongoing capital needs that we still have here at this building, especially with windows that are looking like they're about to fall in, paint jobs that haven't been done in 20 years, and that kind of thing. Obviously, you have to follow through on the reassessment. It's well underway at this point. And then there's also some broader things that are changing culturally. So for one thing, there's the need to adapt the government increasingly to e-government. As the younger generation becomes both our constituents and our workforce, things need to change here in order to adapt to that kind of culture. So one of them being online access to so many of the services that local government provides, and of course gain from some of the efficiencies that can come from that. And meanwhile, we're trying to bring in a younger workforce that's looking for more flexibility, less, how do I put it, measurement of success by time and more about achievement. So I think that there are pros and cons to all of that, but it's something that you're going to have to wade through here in the new future. I think that I wish that we had perhaps started a little bit earlier in doing the performance-based budgeting. That's something I would strongly recommend you continue to pursue. This year we started it by just trying to get the departments to put down their goals and objectives for the coming year. And I think the next logical step will be to essentially give them a little more freedom in managing their budgets. When they set their goals and objectives, you don't have to follow their every little line item budget, but just instead adopt their goals, objectives, and overall departmental budget, and let them have the freedom to go do what they need to do in order to make their departments thrive. I also think that there is an opportunity to look at a home rule charter. I don't know if Warren County has ever taken it very seriously. It's something that I thought of doing too late myself, but having somewhat recently read the law about it, I think the first step is just setting up a exploratory committee, and if you want, I'd be happy to serve on something like that to investigate the pros and cons of moving to a home rule charter. Commissioner Durbin, I gave you a copy of Failure of Nerve by Edwin Friedman when you first took office. My gift to all three of you this year is a copy of Building a Winning Culture in Government. That's kind of step 2. So Friedman's book talks about how the best leaders are not necessarily the visionary people that can see the farthest. They're not necessarily the hands or a heart that can really serve their employees well. All of those are good characteristics, of course, in a leader, but the main thing that he says that you need to be is the immune system of the organization. And by that I mean the person or persons who are responsible for the culture of this place, the people that are responsible for rooting out bad behavior, frankly, setting the standard and promoting the good. And then the book on Building a Winning Culture in Government was something that I kind of set out to write, and then I found the book and realized that the book was already written. So I just bought you a few copies, and they'll be in your inboxes on January 2nd. But I think that it's a great guide to taking over a local government and trying to change its culture. I also think that heading into the 2024 election, you're going to have a lot of challenges related to partisanship. So even 8 years ago, this felt like a very nonpartisan kind of position. And particularly after the 2020 election and COVID, things have become largely partisan, and they don't need to be. I know that all of you have been around for long enough to remember what it was like before, and so I think that's where you need to get back to, as a place where you're not worried about who's Republican or Democrat, what your parties are pushing on you, etc. this job doesn't really need to be partisan. So hopefully you can get back to that place. As a final note of encouragement, I've said before that this job, when you take over elected office, you inherit a precious inheritance from generations back. And as we pass the baton to you guys, I just want to remind you that you're now the caretakers, the trustees of this estate. And so it's important to change it, modify it to meet the needs of today, but also remember the wisdom and history that made it the way that it is. I'm sure that there'll be things that you come across that you wonder why in the world we made the decisions we did. It's easy to criticize 2020 vision and all of that. I would encourage you, I guess, to not do what I did 8 years ago, which was kind of throw the previous board completely under the bus and not wonder why. In retrospect, I should have had some more humility, and I guess I would just encourage you, if you come across something that seems like a strange decision, maybe give us a call. There's probably history and backstory to why we did what we did. And so, reflecting on that, I would remind you of the words that I know I've said before in commissioners' meetings, which is from our namesake, General Joseph Warren, before the Battle of Bunker Hill. He was said to have given a long speech that essentially at the end he said, there's a lot of turbulence before us, a lot of enemies, but we have a lot of friends around us, so we can overachieve, we can achieve. And he ended with, act worthy of yourselves as a consequence. So that would be my final words as well. Thank you very much. It's been a real honor to serve the last 8 years, and congratulations to the incoming elected officials. I'm just a call away if you ever want to talk. Thank you. With that, I move to adjourn.
A second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Tricia.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care. Safe travel.